Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty, and we are back with the letter. Everyone spent the last episode fighting randomly, and now we are heading for the mansion, where I'm hoping things will happen. Like, my one complaint about this game is I just feel like we're not learning anything about the mystery. So, let's go. So, within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxborn and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble seconds later, echoing along across the sky, and with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. I guess it's midnight. The rain falls in fast, steady sheets, creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. You know, this mansion looks terrible in the rain. Wow. Despite having grown up in this city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. I like rainy days. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. Is this still Ashton? Why didn't you take your car? By the time I found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders were already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag, Wright, has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed at every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. See them? See all the guards? Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property. Although that's probably because I kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels once I've stepped into the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself, it feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I'd pass it off as some kind of power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or is about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so. Moving without thinking will only endanger me. With so many unknown variables that we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in prison, not a morgue. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact, not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. My shell abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguished cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and nothing. Abruptly, it all stops, and I am met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks, and...
Help me.
Anna? Dread surges within me when I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting. And tilting to the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance. Scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, like lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I failed to do and of who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There is only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles, the world slows to a stop. We're alive! We're in the dungeon. The storm had started in earnest when Ashton arrived at the mansion. Trying to find a way, and the detective noticed the eerie silence that had enveloped the place. Something was wrong inside. Before he could figure it out, sobs of a woman suddenly echoed. Well, isn't she nice? She helped us get in the mansion. Hopefully Mary Ann is not dead. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dropping water, somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remained still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. How did all these torches get lit? Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. By the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in. Okay, so we fell. So we weren't brought here and locked up. Coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the topside. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul, like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside of some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how expected the finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity, and have it all demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me real as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear is inconsequential, and unpleasant as the sight of this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Turns out that, alone, is too much for Ask This, Artie. Mary Ann? No 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I paused, nevertheless, straining my ears for more of it while gradually moving my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Mary Ann, you're alive! Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here. Or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak?
I'm asking you a question! Who's there?
It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that! Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't! I'm stuck in here!
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. So to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out! Can you help?
In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside, slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. And not just any woman.
McLaughlin?
The same one I met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCullough. Marion McCullough, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now, with how exhausted and feeble she looks, trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing's shallow and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs point to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in and that woman, whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she said is true. For the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort if the puddle in the corner of the cell indicates anything. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an extra of 3 weeks. Though even then, it won't be a pretty experiment. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here. Not like I need it. Not like the ones we have at the precinct. A single barred binge holds the gates of this cell together. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust and dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. We can't have another person trapped in here, however, Makolo ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head steps back to her. Makolo extends, oh boy, that's not a good thing, a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a grasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls to the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on Makolo's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up, today, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something, someone.
A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes. Something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. We never did learn more about her little friend. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her. I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry, and I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans!
We should find a lever. On the other side.
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here! People died in this place! Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
Mikala, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God. Oh God! Dear Lord and St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Mikalo!
Abruptly she stops, looks back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days, from my own friends even, to know she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad, and perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter where we end up, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet?
We have to go in the mansion before you can even get out, though.
An exit's right here!
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not!
I don't think we actually have much of a problem with him.
He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me. Only tell me enough info so I can go figure it out on my own. She can always leave afterwards. Be done with this whole damn mansion and letter. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. Then, without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. After his fall, Ashton found himself in an underground passage when he came to. There he encountered Mary Ann McCullough, who got trapped in one of the jail cells for several days. The detective managed to free her, and in turn, she helped him find a way into the mansion. Occasionally, she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk, she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the wall, liquor barrels for aging, the wine cellar indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages? I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply fall over to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. Stuff on mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit, especially after she mentions it's only by chance that she was able to open the door last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion that something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be, with me feeling this high-strung and tense. I'm not even sure why I thought it would be a good idea to enlist McCullough's help. Although she has been quite helpful so far, I can't shake off the horrible feeling that something's going to happen to her if she stays with me, even if I'm her safest bet if she wants to get out of this place alive.
You really believe that, don't you?
Did you say something?
McCullough pauses mid-step, turning to me, confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard...
Don't you think I'll be the first person who will know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time I'm sure. There's really a voice. Well, voices. Despite the look of protest McCullough shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching for immediate surrounding for the familiar form of the woman. I don't have to venture far from where I'm standing. Just an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. And right on the biggest fragments, they speak. Are these our friend's lips? Kinda looks like Rebecca. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo throughout the small undercroft. Murmurs and laughters, jeering, scoffing, deriding, lacing venom into every crevice in my head, taunting me.
Dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own.
I don't think I dragged her into this.
You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
My mistake lies in this first instance I've answered. The very second denial has slipped from my mouth, their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Despite knowing they were merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hoped I've long buried.
Are we? Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time? Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder? To know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late. And you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together. No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they have the sense.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity, it knows. To hear it said in my friends' voices, even more so. What I hate above all of it is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
In the end, your own incompetence will eventually lead to the deaths of everyone you care about.
It laughs, sharp and piercing. At its sound, something in me snaps. A rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand and... something grabs at my wrist. While by buzzes, another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
The fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once, there's this deafening silence. Slowly I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint old scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist as if to keep me from hurting myself. In my hands, a shard. Blood drips from where it has cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible even. There's a pain, however, a different kind. An ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but where every single word has hit. When I glance up at McCullough, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it! No matter what happens, don't do what it says! It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after a nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterward, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. She breathes a sigh, heavy. If we could get her killed in her chapter, I wonder what could have happened to us here. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
She walks off without a comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. Before he could go deeper into the wine cellar, Ashton began to hear voices coming from mirror shards on the floor. Mocking him for his failures. But before he could do anything rash, Marianne stopped him belatedly. He realized he had picked up a broken mirror shard. On the ground they lie lifeless now, no more voices, no more insults, but even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey. You are going to die.
And you are going to die alone.
A fear, one that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart, one that a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It hasn't even locked, probably left open for when the right asks for some midnight snack. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help McCullough up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master, or doing some extra late-night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants, no anyone, and just as easy as that, we're in. Gently I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we simply revel in the little victories. They're great, blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly, a sob. Ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, McCullough immediately tenses. Her eyes go wide, and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she had the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. It makes sense after 3 or more days without proper food or water. We should give her some water while we're in the kitchen. And it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She's a liability at this point.
I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
We really need to get some drink in her.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be. If no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Well, there's nobody hearing us.
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
McCullough still appears as if she's about to argue, so instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. A standard issue for every member of Luxborn police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at us as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you, but if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you!
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic with my chances. McCullough seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Upon reaching the kitchen, the crying Ashton heard from outside began anew. Unwilling to risk a civilian, the detective handed Marianne his taser and advised her to leave him if he didn't return after 15 minutes, even if he himself wasn't certain if he would. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to, the entire place just feels empty. Odd when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there'd be one or two roaming around for some late-night chores or someone seeking out whoever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
Should they have security posted inside as well?
Unless their security means the butler. Though I doubt Scumbag's that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Probably more than his own wife. And the things he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who'll do anything to keep himself safe. Alive.
I wonder what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCullough's help. Next to the people who own this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweigh the pros. She's better off somewhere a quick exit's in sight. With no tag along, I only have to worry about myself, watch my back. Selfish, I know.
But necessary.
In the same manner this whole plan is, no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide, and the house's layout is fairly simple, almost mirrored with only a few modifications in the rooms. Although I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's ins and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, it shouldn't be hard to find my way around. After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me. Where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure if I should be trusting what I'm hearing. With the whole house somehow seemingly devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
I just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
But nothing's ever that simple, is it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural, nope. Because as soon as my feet crosses to the next room, something shifts. Is this still technically the foyer? I think. In a flash, nearly without fanfare. It happens in the blink of an eye, I almost miss it. One moment there's red. In the next... Oh, there we go, everything's fine. I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant, I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if movements will spur the vision back. Sorry if I already read this. I paused briefly to go get a drink. I've been playing this like all day because I want to know what happens. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping down the walls, none trailing down the stairs or pulled on the floor, no eyes watching my every movement. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with a voice.
Mother.
Desperate.
Where are you, Mother?
Pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
Coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from. Upstairs. The place is not entirely empty then. A better question now is, who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide nor hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Don't give me a quick time event or we're gonna get caught. Maybe the wife? Though no one can really tell if it's her or the way the walls echo her voice. Nevertheless, it pushes me to move. Taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, every small corner I pass. As if the house has several eyes watching my every movement. As if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. And here we go again. I try to shake it off. Journal update. Upon reaching the kitchen, the crying Ashton heard from outside began anew. On alert, he continued deeper into the mansion, even if he was uncertain if he would get out of the place alive. But the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach. Dread. And it lingers deeper the closer I get to her. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for Scumbag to simply show up. I don't get too far down into that train of thought. Abruptly, the cries stop, replacing it with,
Mother, please. She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me. She won't leave, Mother. I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
that can't be good. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet are already moving before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up to me. My hands already at the holster as I hastily set off for the far side of the hall. One alarm footstep after another, while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end, and coming from the floor above...
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I do not hesitate, moving in despite the lack of light, the steep stairs, or the thick layer of dust kicking up with my every step. pause only a moment upon reaching the top. Then, without wasting a second, I push the door open. Oh, it's Charlotte. She sits in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched, shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she has heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed, like I'm standing in a time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I notice the blood on her hands. If it's the same one drenching the whole attic, I'd rather not know. How the whole room has ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even the single human body doesn't have this much blood. So, bodies? The thought sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news, alright, but this? This is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at first sight of it. Anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here, unmoved by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room. Repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. To whom? The mess of parchment she has left on the floor? Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you?
The rest of that question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. But there's little I can do when a well-placed blow on the back of my knee makes me stumble. The momentum sends me reeling forward. It barely even registers in my head that the woman's gone and the room's as normal as it can be. Not above the pain suddenly shooting up my side when I hit the floor. I don't even get the chance to get my bearings back when a hard enough blow to the stomach causes me to buckle down and land heavily on my knees. Gasping, I fumble wildly for my gun. Although before I'm able to turn, level it, and shoot, a hand grabs my wrist and twists it. Hard. A gasp. A grunt. A cry of pain slips past my mouth. The gun falls to the floor with a thunk. As soon as it lands, a foot kicks it out of my reach and slides uselessly under the bed. Agony suddenly explodes in my chin, jerking loose a sharp cry of pain, and stars fill the edges of my vision. A brief moment of regret hits me for leaving my taser with McCullough, when a piece of cloth closes around my neck. I don't want to spoil anything. The sobs led Ashton to the mansion's attic. In the middle of the room, he found a woman crouched on the floor crying. Cautiously, he approached her, but as he was about to reach out for her, someone grabs him from behind. Without warning, my attacker pulls. Tight. I'm left gasping, choking, and clawing for air, blindly reaching behind me as I still try to fight him off and loosen the pressure on my neck. Except any sort of movement only causes him to pull it taut.
My, so many rats scurrying about in this mansion lately.
I knew Johannes was a battle butler. Wright's butler. Shit.
Tell me, what did you do with the madam?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did something happen to Hannah Wright?
Let go! You asshole!
Now, Dummkopf, you're in no position to be rude. Last time I checked, I'm not the one breaking into other people's homes.
Fair point. Why is that candle here? That's a fire hazard.
Now answer my question. What did you do with the madam?
The pain rings and resonates through my already sore body. Still, I managed to write it out and spit a mutinous...
You.
You just tell him you don't know.
Keep that dirty mouth babbling and you're getting a knife in the kidney. I assure you, it will be more painful than this.
He really doesn't need to threaten me by now. It's all too much to bear at this point. My lungs feel like they're burning with a lack of air. Dark spots begin to fill the edges of my vision. Ever so slowly, the world around me dims. My consciousness rapidly slips away from me, and without meaning to...
Get away from him!
Isabella? Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket full of ice-cold water. Familiar. Too familiar. And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. She shouldn't be here. Immediately, my eyes snap open. She's got a taser in her rolling pan. And right there, right on the attic's doorway, stands Isabella of all people, holding a really small rolling pan. A rolling pin in one hand and a standard issue police taser on the other, my taser. She must have borrowed it from McCullough. Where else could she have gotten one? I doubt she has ever used one even. Hell, the way she holds it right now, this guy can easily disarm her in one hit. But there's something in her eyes. Although there's a look of fear in them and her hand shakes, she keeps the weapon trained and pointed at Scumbag's lackey. Untrained or not, she does not plan to leave here without putting up a fight, it seems. Admirable, really, but it's not just something we need right now. I need her to be away from here. I need her safe. But the chances of that happening grow slimmer with every laugh that slips from her.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. The Bratwurst won't be pleased with the number of bodies we have to dispose of today, you know. Tell me, how many of you are there? So I can prepare the proper number of bags.
Damn it. What the fuck is going on? Why is she here in the first place? Did she follow after me? Who else came with her? Zach? Rebecca? Are they all here? I think these are just, hey, these people are alive. So we're just checking them in. As if they're not alive, they couldn't have come. Panic surges within me. She knows how bad the situation is, but did she really have to run on here and expose herself like that? Does she even know how to use a taser? For fuck's sake, more than worrying for my life, it's her I'm concerned about. Getting strangled, dying by choking isn't part of the plan, but her following me here isn't either. You should be grateful she's saving you. This is why I prefer to do things alone. This is why I'd rather be the only one to take the consequences. I don't even want to think about what this bastard might do to her after he's done with me. When my voice comes off nearly a croak, I try to tell her as much. She has to leave. Stay as far away from here and these people.
Don't! Damn it, Isabella!
Don't say my name!
Get out of here!
Another bout of pain erupts in my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood on my tongue as I heave, attempting to get it in as much air as possible despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
Ash?
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Get out! 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 Val!
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you here!
Just shoot the taser! He laughs. Too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears, in spite of the warmth in them, sends chill down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. He won't hesitate.
I'd follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy? Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
Well, you're just gonna let her go? There's a moment of silence. Like I could barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though I still don't exactly understand what's happening, Isabella shouts. Not a cry of pain. Not a yell of panic, but one that's resolute. Firm. Perhaps in a tone that sleeks fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me! Ashton, duck!
How am I supposed to duck? I do, more out of instinct and desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The telltale sound of a taser being discharged resounds through the room. The air crackles. Something whizzes by, almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt collecting solidly with another object. Next thing I know, the towel strangling me has started to loosen. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. From my peripheral, through the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles, he spasms once. Then, without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by 50,000 volts of electricity and a fucking rolling pin. Ashton attempted to fight back, but his attacker quickly disarmed him, looping a towel around his neck and strangling him. But just when he was about to lose consciousness, a familiar voice rings in the room and... He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, my oxygen-deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. We should probably tie the butler up. Right next to her trembling hands, but the taser and the rolling pin lie useless and forgotten. While the mood in the room eases, we should also take those with us. A long, gradual process of the tension lifting. For countless seconds we remain quiet, with only our short gasps and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline to ebb away and both our breathing to slow. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still the curse. We're still inside the mansion. In imminent danger. We still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere, white and piercing, and the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. I stir first, once recovered, having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable. As is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow. I can manage. Retrieving my gun from under the bed is easy, but only with some effort. I am able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff on his wrist, while fastening the other to the bed frame. Good, at least we did that. That should keep him restrained for a few hours, in case he wakes up prematurely. All through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved since. Her hands still shake and taking in long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. She probably is. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any result, spurred only by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. I think it's supposed to be perhaps she wasn't expecting a result. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light
Belle,
shake.
we need to go. We can't stay here.
Slowly she turns, staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them along with something ineffable. Then, without warning, she lifts a hand. She gonna smack me? And slaps me right across the face. Yeah, you slap him, Isabella. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like a fragile glass breaking. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me, until my head has already snapped back and my cheek stings with her anger. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards, not fuming though, never fuming, but the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly. A frustration instead of a seething rage. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows, and once the tide subsides and there's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching. Quietly, I brace myself for the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, nearly fading under the sound of the rain still falling fast, if not for the weight in each of her words.
What is wrong with you?
Belle.
If Zach didn't slip up, no one would have known where you went.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and
You almost died. He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died.
I told Zach to give me 4 hours. That would have been enough time to...
It would have been too late. And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer.
She trails off, drags one indrawn breath after another. A brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolved into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and weary in her next words, there's only certainty.
You count too, you know? When I said that night, when I told you that I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive. We're still here, Ash. You have us.
And once their meaningful roar, it is not with a force. It is not so with a force of dam breaking or a raging storm. That was written poorly. With the gentle, steady warmth of a hearth burning. An ember easing slowly, lightly, rising and giving until all that's left is a truth, an understanding. Not alone. Never alone. It lingers, even as we both drift back into silence and our words take root, because in the gratitude that swells after is another warmth blooming, pleasant, welcoming, like finding home, like finding ourselves in the haze of a squall has left, creating something fragile yet immutable in both of us. It's in her eyes, in the way she holds my gaze unwavering, in the way she carries herself despite sitting amidst a place she fears, in the way she keeps herself from trembling and falling apart, because fear is inconsequential when the people she cares about are at risk. Having recovered, Ashton quickly urged Isabella to move, knowing it wasn't safe to stay idle. Without warning, however, Isabella slapped him. Furious at him for keeping people in the dark, she reminded him of what was important, and with it came a realization about himself. A change. She realizes that now, holds on to it. Another little thing, another small thing from her that may go unnoticed and pass by quietly, but will eventually amount to a lot of things. Tiny gestures that mean nothing at first, but begin to matter to me one day until... Oh, despite myself, a small smile slips from my lips with the same warmth from earlier unfurls in my chest. Unhurried, familiar, and bright from all these years I've carried it, but have never given the words for it.
Stop smiling like that, Ashton! I'm not done scolding you!
Hug her! But this time they come easy.
I heard all of it. Don't worry.
Are you really okay? That guy hit you a little too hard on the head. Here, let me...
I reach up just as she extends a hand towards my face, catching her wrist in a light grip, drawing it closer and holding her hand in between mine. Although her expression does not shift in mild confusion, she does not pull away like I'm expecting. She simply stares at me, searching. For her to allow a gesture for me that's perhaps too close, it tells a lot how far things have already shifted in the past few years. Cradled in mine, her hand still trembles. Most of the tremors have already subsided by now, though I doubt they'll fade away this soon. Even as I trace the lines of her palm, and what I hope is a comforting gesture.
I'm sorry, Belle.
For what? Is this about what happened tonight? You can apologize later, when...
No, well, this too, but it's not just about this. It's for a lot of things. For calling you clumsy, and careless, and a scatterbrain.
Are you sure this isn't a concussion?
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't usually apologize.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that too. For all the times I've teased you and made you cry.
Unexpectedly, her fingers tighten around mine, our hands falling between us as something tender shifts in the air. Another exhale. Another drawn breath eases out of me, filled with every hesitation and uncertainties. But when I finally choose to break the silence, it's only when I know what will slip past my mouth is that one truth I will hold against the world.
But for all those callous words, despite all those, there's nothing that I don't love about you.
Saying this with an unconscious butler like a foot away.
In fact, those things, I love those. And everything that's you.
For a long moment, she offers up no response. Her grip on my hands merely tightens. Although my heart's pounding against my ears, I take a chance and look up, slightly leaning away and giving her a cautious glance, more than ready to hear her rejection. And it is one, despite the smile on her face. If it can even be called one, of course. There's a pained aspect to it I can hardly name. Look, if this was Zachary confessing, it would be a different story. I actually believe she can't end up with Zachary. I found that online, which sucks. I think Zachary can only end up with one person. How unfortunate. Regardless of what it means to her or what she intends to convey with it, the sight of it alone makes me regret ever mentioning anything. Everyone's gonna be single in this playthrough. Maybe Hana and Luke will stay together if they both live. That's about it. It's almost as if she's forcing herself to push out the next words out of her mouth for the sake of not hurting me. Not that I won't be able to take it, But if these feelings will only put a heavier burden on her, I'd rather not have said anything at all. As expected, with one less squeeze of the hand cradling hers, she pulled her hand away from mine. When she speaks, though, there's a stark refusal to meet my eyes. Not that I hold it against her. That situation's already awkward as it is.
Ash!
She pauses, biting her lower lip. A small frown forms between her eyebrows as she struggles to find the right phrases to string together.
Ashton, I'm really sorry.
I'm in love with Zach.
Oh, no, it's cool. I was already expecting that. Kind of. But you don't have to.
No, I mean, I can't. I can't afford to think of anything other than helping my family. Especially now that Papa's gone.
Her voice just dropped really low in volume.
They're going to need me more than ever, Ash. I'm sorry. I really can't. Not right now.
I've always known it would lead to this, to some extent. Her family will always come first. Who am I to take that from her? It hurts, of course, but the pain eases knowing that in spite of the circumstances, her heart will always be in the right place. That she's still the same woman I've fallen in love with.
It's all right, Belle. Don't apologize. If it still matters, that's actually what I love about you. Of course, not that I'm expecting anything by telling you that, but you get the point. Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. I mean, thank you for loving me. Even after everything.
Her response is a smile and soft laughter, perhaps the sweetest I've seen and heard from her. Just from it, I know nothing will change despite her answer and any lingering feelings that will come from this. And there will be. Lingering feelings, that is. With the way she barged into our lives 5 years ago, it'll probably be enough to leave a terrible impression on anyone, but that's also precisely it. It's people like her that you don't easily forget. It's them that gradually worm their way into a person's life until the very thought of losing them becomes unbearable. As it is, I'm already content simply staying by her. No grand expectations or hopes attached, just the banter, the small smiles, and the quiet little moments that roar. I love her, but that also isn't all there is to
I know
this.
I caused you all kinds of trouble these past few years.
Hey, whoever told you I'm doing this for free? After we're done with this curse thing, you're gonna owe me a year's supply of ice cream.
Yeah, we'll see.
More laughter, this time from both of us. Then she hits my arm with a light punch. Familiar, warm, bright, and hopeful, much like everything about her. And it's strength enough to keep me going as I lead us both out. Understanding how much she also meant to him, Ashton took both of her hands in his and apologized, and in a moment of honesty confessed how he truly felt for her. However, although thankful, Isabel wasn't able to return his feelings and turned him down. I think we're probably getting there. Let me check the time. And we got a little bit more. Guess we can go a little longer. Power still doesn't come back when we make our way downstairs. Tricky considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that'll happen to you. With the stairs this steep, a broken neck is a likely outcome. Thankfully, Isabel is here to guide me through the darkness. She knows this place better than anyone, after all, in spite of all the misfortunes it has brought to us.
Careful, the floorboards over there aren't very sturdy.
Right on cue, the same board I'm stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks. The piece is falling somewhere with a dull thud.
Oh shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, my foot.
See? I told you so. You never listen to me.
They renovated the whole mansion. They can't even replace one tiny part of the house.
Everybody who came to the attic died.
Why don't you file a complaint to BRC then? I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it. You know it was such a rushed job.
Outside, the winds have intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the window in the attic. It makes you wonder why up until now the only person we've encountered from this house is the butler. Although to some degree that makes sense. He is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants, though? In this storm, wouldn't anyone want to stay inside? A likely assumption is they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they've likely assigned as the servants' quarters. However, they also have heightened security. I brushed it off earlier, thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's rooms are. The second floor is devoid of anyone as well. As if every inhabitant of this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that we're here right in the fucking middle of it makes me all the more queasy. That feeling only escalates once we reach the landing and Isabella swings the door open. Yeah, am I the only one who's like, why are we in the kitchen? She pauses abruptly right in the doorway that I almost run into her. A look of confusion's in her as she looks wildly around the place, wordlessly taking in her surroundings. With each turn and shift of her eyes, her shoulders only grow tenser, and a look of apprehension slowly draws on her.
Isabella, what are you?
We aren't supposed to be here.
Sure enough, when I look up, we're standing right in the kitchen, pots, pans, and all. Probably means we're not going to be able to leave. In one corner, Zach and Rebecca watch, almost as surprised to see us. McCall's also with them, of course. She didn't listen to me, even if I've already exceeded the 15 minutes we agreed on. Although color and strength seems to have already returned to her, enough for her to be able to stand unassisted. The empty plate on the counter appears to have played a part in that. Good news, I guess. As for the other two, however, relieved as I am that they've had the sense to wait and not venture deeper into the mansion, I can't help roll my eyes at both of them.
Zach, I said 4 hours.
I know, but Isabella asked and... Come on, bro, you know I ain't a very good liar.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
We all tried, all right? She was out the door before we could say anything.
And how did you guys even get in here?
All three of them exchange a look. One that I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Isabella who speaks up, albeit with a bit of hesitation.
We heard someone scream, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind us slams
We
shut.
need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky we're in the kitchen and have 2 ways out: the back door and the cellar. And the cellar offers. I don't know where we go. Like, we need to solve this mystery. Except the hatch won't budge when I pulled at it, neither does the back door. As if something has locked it firmly on the other side. Zach also gives a few tries, but even with the big guy's strength, it won't open. Smash a window! There's a long bout of silence in which we all simply look at each other, likely sharing the same thoughts. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally led us here. Fuck. In that same moment, once realization dawns, something shifts again. Blood. This actually doesn't really appear bloody at all. In every nook and cranny of every surface, in every inch of the floor, there's no blood. I don't see any blood. The whole time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of the familiar metallic scent. Sharp, suffocating. Around us, every object, including the covers, has started to rattle as well. The sounds from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Oh, journal updated. Together, Ashton and Isabella carefully made their way downstairs. However, instead of a hallway, the kitchen greeted them instead. Before they could understand what was happening, it slammed shut behind them and the whole mansion had started to shift. Though inaudible, each beat and note bombards every crevice of my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled by purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining. It should take us straight to the foyer, wherever the main door is. Everyone hold hands, form a chain.
Move! Run!
Don't get separated. Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we're in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room like it's supposed to open to... I was about to joke, we just end up in the master bedroom and wake Luke up. The bedroom welcomes us instead. An image that lasts only but a second before blood begins to seep into the room. Also, I don't really see any blood. This doesn't look bloody at all to me. It just looks red. Filtering into the walls, trickling from every nook and cranny. Everywhere furniture shakes and every beam rattles. Before we can even step back from the horror gradually unfolding in front of us, the door slams shut. A loud thud bringing a sense of dread and chill creeping up in each of us. Along with it is another realization. The whole place is reordering itself. And with the door closed tight behind us, showing no signs of budging, even through sheer force, there's no choice but to go forward and hope to all gods that it'll lead us to an exit. See, this looks a little bloody. Until then, running is the only thing we can do, spurred by nothing but fear and a sense of desperation to live.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
But with each room we pass, it only becomes apparent that the house has no intention of letting us leave. It lured all of us here and we've fallen for it. Now it's playing a little game with us, a sordid form of amusement. For whom? Their laughter is the only thing we can hear. That looks a little bloody. With every hall we cross, every door we open, the hope of finding an exit merely dwindles. The gun at my hip is useless here. I am useless here. Some fucking genius I am. Some fucking person to trust I am. All of those, they mean nothing in the face of the unknown.
You finally figured it out. Huh, Ashton Frey. Just give it up. All of them will eventually die because of you.
And you are going to die alone.
Shut your fucking mouth.
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to save anyone.
The more gruesome the place turns, the bleaker our chances simply get. Wails and screams fill our ears as we pass by. Words from a time and people long gone, laced with nothing but pure agony, calling out, reaching out to us. Their voices almost too real, as if we're not the only ones trapped here. That there are others begging for release from this wretched place. Or maybe it's all just a show, a taste of what we will eventually be, souls forever held captive in a never-ending nightmare.
Mother. I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here.
Help me! Help me, please!
Is this what the curse is, what it means for all of us? That the letter, not a morbid cry for help, but an invitation? A beckoning for unsuspecting souls to be dragged into this place's horrors, to be put under centuries and centuries of torment and agony? Suddenly dying a painful death seems preferable, enticing, than ending up here living a tortured existence. Or perhaps it's all the same? Check the time. Well, we're gonna end this part here before it goes any further, because I want to believe something big is gonna happen. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a comment, let me know what you're thinking so far, and I will catch you all next time. Bye!